Welcome back to America's Now. Brazil is known around the world for its Carnival and, of course, football. But the country's modernist art movement, which includes works of its foremost architects and designers, isn't as well known. One design gallery has been working to change that during New York's Furniture Week. It's profiling the furniture design of Brazil's modernist icons Oscar Niemeyer and Jorge Zalzupin from the trend-setting capital of Manhattan. Our correspondent Lee Ling Tan takes us behind the scenes for a different look into Brazil's modernist age.
For more than a decade, one converted warehouse in the heart of Manhattan's Tribeca district has carried the stamp of Brazil, showcasing furniture by Brazil's leading furniture designers. Aptly named Espaço, which means space in Portuguese, the gallery specializes in modern and contemporary furniture. Its mission, according to owner Carlos Junqueira, is to conserve and promote Brazil's 20th century design heritage.
Brazil, it's a very sort of like closed country in terms of exposure internationally. So it was a way to show a little bit through each piece our lifestyle, our creativity, our sense of humor.
To that end, this year, during New York's famed Furniture Week, Espaço has undertaken the massive task of bringing back to life key works by two of Brazil's leading architecture and design icons, the legendary Oscar Niemeyer and the inimitable Jorge Zalzupin.
If I can expose them to American market and to the world in a very fun and in a beautiful scene, I think that's what I'm excited to do. So I'm very pleased to show them.
The furniture pieces here at Espaço's show titled Compasso include 4 works by Niemeyer and 20 by Zalzupin, all re-editions certified by the designers' families and their foundations, reissues of pieces that have rarely been seen outside of auctions until now.
The reason we are showing the re-editions is, of course, it's because the families are all involved. There is a way for people to have those pieces in today's world with the same character, the way they were built, the way they were created.
The collections complement each other's free-flowing curves, and yet each sculpted piece, whether by Niemeyer or Zalzupin, can stand out alone as a single work of art. This is the centerpiece at Espaço's show. It is the Oscar Niemeyer rocking chaise. Now, this was first designed in the late 1970s, and now more than 3 decades later, this re-edition is retailing here at $38,400 US. Now, that's a bit steep, but it's also a testament to Niemeyer's indelible legacy. The curves and angles in Niemeyer's furniture pieces reflect his signature style seen in the buildings he is most famous for, a style that broke away from the Bauhaus of the time, the German-influenced school of thought for architecture.
I think he felt that the modernist dogma and the stuff that was coming out of the Bauhaus at the time was very rigid and too controlling for him. He was more passionate about the free-form curves. He felt that that was more Brazilian in essence. And when people were talking about form follows function, he was talking about form follows the feminine form.
Considered by many as the father of Brazilian modernist architecture, the late Niemeyer differentiated himself from other modernists by the daring use of curves in his building designs. He later drew worldwide acclaim for designing the national capital of Brasilia, including the presidential office Planalto Palace and the presidential residence Alvarado Palace, as well as the Samba Dome in Rio de Janeiro, the center point of Brazil's annual Carnivale.
Niemeyer is huge to Brazil. I think through his architecture he captured the persona of the Brazilian modernist kind of society.
A communist, Niemeyer fled to France in the wake of the 1964 military takeover in Brazil, where he designed the famous French communist headquarters.
You have to remember the Western world kind of blocked him out for a while because of his communist background, but he did such passionate stuff that it kind of overcame those boundaries, and he still persevered with this beautiful architecture he was producing, which was so different than most of the other modernist architecture at the time.
It was also in France where he further explored and expanded into furniture design and took to the works of another architect and furniture designer, Georges Zalzoupin.
Oscar had these free-form lines and flows and curves and passionate things that he needed something a little bit less rigid. So he found what he was looking for in Zalzoupin's furniture.
Zalzoupin's works are defined by sensual lines and the use of modern constructive standards, with cues taken from Scandinavian modernism. His furniture adorned the palaces and public buildings in Brasilia that Niemeyer designed.
It's such a perfect match, you know, you see some of the same curves and it's so compatible. And I think that sort of relationship him and Zalzoupin formed was based on that compatibility of ideas, and I think they affected each other.
The Poland-born Zalzoupin studied in France before moving to Brazil in 1949. The 92-year-old is the founder of the design collective L'Atelier, comprising of architects, engineers and craftsmen, whose collaborations begin from the research of materials to the development of the final product. Created in 1959, L'Atelier remains a benchmark of modernism to this day. On display at Espacio in New York are 20 certified re-editions of Zalzoupin's works from the 1960s, including his circa bench and the Petalas coffee table inspired by flower petals. Opening night of the Compasso exhibition saw an international crowd of dealers and designers, as well as patrons from as far away as China, a sign of growing interest in what Brazil has to offer beyond the obvious.
Yes, Espaço was and is still very important because, you know, everybody knows Brazil. Many people knows Brazil because of the Carnival, because of the football, and few people until some years ago only know Brazil about this, but don't know Brazil about the modernism in Brazil.
I
think Brazilian architecture has its own unique characteristic. In the first place, it has a strong naturalistic style, and then the design combines very well with nature.
The mission of Espaço is to sort of like present other things that's not known, and through the furniture, through the architecture, I think we are accomplishing the mission.
A mission that gives new dimension to a timeless heritage and connects the world with a side of Brazil many have either forgotten or haven't seen before.
Our thanks to Li Ling Tan for that report. Galleries have stepped up their efforts to bring sustainable furniture into their showrooms. Customers, especially those who buy wood furniture, want to know where the raw material came from.
Coming up.
Fusing hip-hop and modern dance to the soul of the slums.
You know, it was actually copying what I saw on TV. I'd watch people dancing on TV and became enamored.
America's Next.